Good morning, children. Today topic threats of biodiversity. Already, what is mean of biodiversity? We know that the variations among the organisms is called as biodiversity. So this biodiversity is maintaining the balancing in ecosystem. The ecosystem is running. It is stabilizing because of the biodiversity only. So this biodiversity, the stabilization of ecosystem or the loss of biodiversity is causing the some of the factors. So those are called as the threats of biodiversity. So these are today's factor. Generally, biodiversity or the threats of biodiversity are taken. India. So India we are taking among 17 countries. So 17 countries, the largest biodiversity countries. These are called as hotspots. The 17 biodiversity hotspots. India is one of the country we are taking. India is one of the country. Here the maximum amount of diversity is occurs. We are identifying, we are observing into our surroundings. The major number of the species are presented in our surroundings here. So that only India is one of the biodiversity hotspots. Throughout the world, we are taking the 17 biodiversity hotspots. India is one of the major important biodiversity hotspots. In this biodiversity in the India, how it is going to threaten? So the threats are occurs in the India, and not only the India, any biodiversity hotspot we are taking, some threats are there. So those threats are going to decreasing the diversity here. So what are those causes? Generally, natural causes. The first one is the natural causes. Some natural causes is decreasing into the diversity here. For example, you are taking the natural calamities like that as a cyclones, earthquakes, tsunamis. These are we are taking. So those conditions by the natural causes or the natural calamities, they are going to decreasing into the diversity in a particular region or the particular region we are particular country we are taking. So these are into the natural. So in this case, so you are not able to do anything. So generally it is the regular process is occurs into the nature. But the second cause, the second major important threatening process for the biodiversity is, so loss of biodiversity is human activities. Human activities, either directly or indirectly. The humans are directly or indirectly, they are threats to the biodiversity. They are causing, their activities are causing into the threat, means damage to the biodiversity here. How they are caused, how the human activities are causing the threat to the biodiversity means. So these are into the factors, the causes of the biodiversity. What are the causes? They are comes under the biodiversity means habitat loss or the fragmentation, over exploitation, exotic species invasion, global climatic changes, shifting or the zoom cultivation, and the intensive agriculture and co-extinction. So these are all the factors of these are the different causes of the biodiversity. So the loss of biodiversity here. So these are taking as a threats to the biodiversity. One by one we can be study now. So first of all, habitat loss. To increasing population, not only these are the major causes, not only these causes, some other factors also they are threat to biodiversity. What are those other factors? Mean specialized food habitats. So specialized food habitats, specialized habitat and size of, that means larger size of animals, smaller population size, individual habitat space, habitat area. So these are all some other factor they are causing to the loss of biodiversity. For example, we are taking specialized food habitats. So some animals we are taking, their specialized foods are presented. So they are taking the only certain form of the food materials only. We are taking certain form of the food materials only. So when the food material, those specific form of the food because of those specific form of the food habitats, whether those foods are not available, those food materials are not available, that time those species are going to extinct. The same way, the specialized habitat here, whether the climatic condition, where there the habitat conditions are going to changes, those species are going to extinct from that region we are in. So the third one is the larger size of the animals. For example, elephants we are taking. So the elephants, because of their larger sizes, their distribution or their existence in the nature, they requires into the more basic needs like that as a food, covering, that means the shelter, and the mating process. So these are needed into a larger quantity. When these are not available, that time because of this larger size of the animals, they are not able to survive. They are not withstand into the nature here. And the small population, the population size becomes into the smaller. So these are easily, this type of the population, the organism, this type of the population easily going to extinct here because of the smaller population. They are not withstand into the nature here. And individual habitat area. So individual habitat area we are taking. So like that is the lines we are taking. So individual, they requires their survivability, they requires each line it requires into the hundreds of kilometers. So individual habitat area. So like this, all these factors also causing the loss of biodiversity. These are the other factors along with the natural and the human activity. So these factors also causing the decreases into the biodiversity. So next we are taking the major causes of biodiversity. First one is the habitat loss and fragmentation. So loss of habitat. How it causes or how it reason for the loss of biodiversity we are taking. So the name itself is explaining that habitat loss. So habitat loss here. The increasing population, day by day increasing the population, the human activities are going to increasing. So because of the settlement are getting into the shelter, industrialization, agriculture practices, all these purposes, humans are going to, they are destroying into the natural resources of some of the species. Like that as we are taking to the deforestation. Deforestation process we are doing. So to agriculture practices or the industrialization, the increasing the human population, the certain regions of our nature, that is that forest we are taking, we are going to conduct the deforestation for the agriculture practice. So when we are going to conduct the deforestation process, that is the agriculture practices we are doing, so that time some species, whatever they are living in those native habitats, they losses their habitat here. The loss of habitat is occurs. So habitat they are going to lose. So when these are losing into their habitat, to protecting from their predators or to survival in the nature, so they are going to migrating from those places to the another places. So when they are going to migrating from those places to the another places, the new habitats, they may be existed, or they may be adapted, or they may not be adapted here. Whether they are adapted and at that time they are going to survive, whether they are not adapted, so that time they are not going to survive, those species are going to extinct from the earth surface here. So this is because of the loss of habitat. So the human activities, because of the human activities only, so like there is a deforestation, majority of the species are going to losing their habitat, and it is a one of the threat of the biodiversity loss is occurring. This is the first factor we are taking. Example, we are taking rainforest. So the rainforest, in the old world we are taking earlierly 14% of the rainforest distribution is there into the nature. 14% of the total distribution of the rainforest into the throughout the world is 14%. At present we are taking this distribution of the rainforest is a 6% only because of the deforestation we are taking. So the habitat, whatever it is the species, they are living into this tropical rainforest. These are the tropical rainforest. So tropical rainforest. So the loss of the distribution is some species they are losing into their habitat, they are going to extinct. So like this, the loss of habitat is one of the threatened of the biodiversity. The second one is the fragmentation. Fragmentation we are taking. So here the fragmentation, fragment means the division. The species, here the fragmentation of the habitats. Fragmentation is fragmentation of the habitats. So fragmentation of habitat or the resources we are taking. The increasing population or the human activities. So sometimes a certain areas of nature, so because of the human activities or the cultivation process, this habitat area is going to fragmented here because of in particular reasons, industrialization, the agriculture practices, the entire habitat is going to fragmented here. So when these are going to fragmented, their habitat is going to fragmented. Whatever the species they are surviving in this particular geographical region, the species interaction is going to disrupted here. The species interactions are going to disrupted. When the species interactions are going to disrupted, either these species are going to extinct or these species are going to forming into the changes here. A new speciation is going to occur. So majority of the time the species are going to extinct here. So it is also one of the threatened to the biodiversity. So like this, habitat loss and the fragmentation. These are first factor, first causes of the biodiversity loss. Next one is the overpopulation. Over exploitation here. Over exploitation means usage here. Over usage. The over usage of the resources. So here we are taking over usage of resources here taken. So over exploitation is nothing but as a over usage of the resources. Like that, as a forest are going to deforesting, mining, fishing, all these are comes under the exploitations only. So whenever the humans are needs, the humans are having the some needs. Up to the satisfying to these needs, these resources are going to utilizing. So like that, as a culturing of the agriculture practices and the capturing of the fishes or the taking of the natural resources we are. So up to this we are taking means the ecological balance will be maintained here. When the human need is becomes into the greed, that means over usage, it becomes into the greedy or greed. So that time overusage is occurs. Because of the overusage, some of the species they are losing into their basic needs. So it is also causes. Example, the mining or the culturing process, capturing of the fishes. So agriculture cultures or the agriculture practices of the more areas. All these are comes under the over exploitation. These are also causing into the damage to the biodiversity. This is one of the threatened process here. And exotic species invasion. So that is introducing of the new species from their native to a new area is called as a exotic species invasion here. So exotic species introducing into the new species. For example, we are taking tilapia fish. So tilapia fish is introduced in the Kerala. So it is introduced into the Kerala. So because of the tilapia fish introducing into the Kerala, there the native species of labio, and punnets is going to extincted or reduced into their species number. Their richness is going to extinct. So what it is happening, whenever we are going to introducing into the new species, exotic species, or is also called as alien species or alien species. So these alien species we are going to introducing into the new area. So because of their dominance, their native species and their richness or the existence of the native species are going to decreases here, or they are going to extinct from their species. So this may also causing the decreases into the diversity in the ecosystem here. So like this is the one example here. So like this exotic species and their introducing. Like that as another cause, global climatic changes we are taking. Global climatic changes. So these global climatic changes, like that as carbon dioxide, GHG we are taking. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, so CFC, chlorofluorocarbons, greenhouse gases, all these pollutants is causing the decrease of the biodiversity, is one of the threatened process. How these are responsible for the loss of biodiversity means, for example, we are taking the carbon dioxide or the greenhouse gases or the chlorofluorocarbons we are taking. When this percentage of the chlorofluorocarbons, greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide is going to increases into the nature, their effect is there into the other factors of the nature. For example, when the carbon dioxide concentration is increasing into the nature, the atmospheric temperatures are going to, so these temperatures are going to increasing. So when the atmospheric temperatures are going to increasing gradually, so number of decades, these are going to melting of the glacial ice. Presently, this is only happening in the universe we are taking. Greenhouse effect is occurring. So because of the greenhouse gases and the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, atmospheric temperatures are going to rise. Whenever the atmospheric temperatures normally they are going to rising each degree centigrade, so glacial ice is going to melting and the sea levels are going to increasing. So number of years these levels are going to increase. Automatically there the surroundings, habits and the habitats whatever they may be there, they are submerged into the sea levels. So like this, some species are going to extinct because of these pollutants. Climatic changes here, climatic condition. Majorly these factors are going to releasing because of the human activities. So these are also one of the causes of the biodiversity loss here. Next one, shifting and the zoom cultivation. Shifting cultivation, so are the zoom cultivation, or it is also called as a burn agriculture here, burning agriculture. In some of the areas like that is a northeast states we are taking the India, northeast. So northeast states we are taking in the India, like that as a Mizoram, Meghalaya, some these areas we are taking. There the tribal agriculture practices they are going to follow. So what they are doing means the shift or the zoom cultivation methods they are following. So like this, in these forest regions, in these northeast states, the forest region, a patch of the forest, that means one particular region of the forest, initially they are going to deforestating and there they are going to cultivating for the 2 to 3 years of the duration. After, when here the soil fertility is going to decreases, so these places are going to, they are vacated and they are moving into the some other place of the forest region. Like this, into the every 2 to 3 years of the duration they are going to shifted as a patch, like that they are going to shifting in the forest and they are going to cultivating, they are practicing into the agriculture here. So at that time what it is happened here, when they are going to practicing the agriculture processes, so in this place of the different types of the varieties of the species, they losses into the their habitat, and whatever the species are existed in this particular area, they are going to moving into the some other area. So like this, in the continuous deforestation into the patchwise into the entire region, in this particular regions of the states, it is going to decreasing into the biodiversity. So this is also one of the factor causes of the biodiversity we are taking. Next, intensive agriculture practices. This is also agriculture practice only. Intensive agriculture practice is nothing but as a hybrid varieties. Hybridization processes. The cultivation of the hybrid varieties. Whenever we are cultivating into the hybrid varieties, instead of the native variant species we are taking, means the native variant, the native varieties of plants or the species is going to decreasing or extincted here, because to producing the more productivity we are always prefers into the hybrid varieties only. So at that time the local varieties or the native varieties of the species of the plants, they are going to, their genetical makeup is, or their genetical species are going to extinct out from the nature here. So this is called as a intensive agriculture practice. This is also going to leads the damage or the decreasing into the biodiversity. So majority of the species. Now we are taking the any one of the vegetables or the any one of the crop we are taking, the native species, the different native species, the native varieties of the species are not present. All they are becomes into the hybrid varieties only. So this is also one of the reason. Next one is a co-extinction here. Co-extinction, so name itself is explaining co-extinction. That means extinct of the one species is leads to the extinction of the other species here. This is called as a co-extinction. So how it is means, for example, we are taking dodo birds, we are taking dodo birds. So dodo birds, when the dodo birds are going to extincted from the nature. Why these are going to extincted means because of the over exploitation. So over exploitation, how it is means these dodo birds are basically depending for the food purpose into the fishes, marine fishes we are doing. So whenever we are in the different regions of the world, we are over cultivating, that is over capturing into the fishes, the availability of the fishes for these birds are going to decrease. So that only the dodo birds are becomes, they are going to degraded or they are going to extincted from the earth surface here. When these are going to extincted, the plant which is taking calcareous, so these plants are going to producing the seeds like that as a rocky structures here. So their endocarp you are taking means very stronger it is. The distribution of their seeds or the germination of their seeds is requires to break down into their rocky endosperm. It is requires here. But this rocky endosperm is going to degraded or the destroyed and germination is going to started whenever these seeds are eating or whenever these seeds are feeding by the dodo birds here. Whenever the dodo birds are not presented, they are extincted out from the nature. The calcareous trees they are also not going to distributed, their germination is also going to affected here. Like this, one species is going to extincted from the food chain or the food web or the ecosystem. Their depending species also going to affected because of both are into the coexisted here. So this one is extinct from the nature means automatically the dependent one is also extincted from the nature here. So this process is called as a co-extinction. So like this, these are the different causes of biodiversity. So because of these causes, the biodiversity loss is occurs. The threats, these are all considered as a threats to the biodiversity. Next one, loss of biodiversity. Loss. How the loss is occurring in the biodiversity we are taking. So loss is nothing but as the variations into the species or the variations into the ecosystem. So these are going to minimize or these variations are going to decreases. That is called a loss of biodiversity. So here majorly it is occurs, already we discussed the natural calamities, the natural factors is going to losing the biodiversity. And the other one is the human activities we are taking. So these are all the major causes and how the human activities we are taking. So loss of biodiversity we are taking. The human activities either the direct or the indirect processes. So the direct process we are taking means the change in the local land usage. One is the change into the local land usage here. Species introducing, that is a extinction species introduction or their removal of the species, and the harvesting and the pollution. So these are all direct factors, direct activities, human activities. So these are causing the loss of biodiversity. How they are means the change in the local land usage. Suppose the human activity, one particular area, one particular region, so the usage of that particular local usage of that particular area, so is going to changes. Automatically there, whatever the species are depending on that particular habitat, so they are going to affected here. So like this is the one factor. And the species introduction, the special species or the exotic species is going to introducing. So those are bringing along with that some of the diseases are bringing, or they may be dominant to the native species, or the removal of the species. Whenever from the ecosystem or the food web, one species is going to removing from the ecosystem, so they are depending from there onwards. So whatever the food chain will be there, it is not going to continue. Either the introducing of the new species or the removal of the species from the native area. So both are causing imbalancing in the ecosystem here. And the harvesting. Harvesting means over harvesting or the over exploitation we are taking. For example, dodo and the passenger pigeons. These passenger pigeons and the dodo birds are going to extincted because of the over harvesting of the fishes here. That is the over capturing of the fishes from the marine sources we are taking. So like this, harvesting or the pollutions. So because of the human activity, the industrialization or the civilization process, the pollutants or the different types of the toxic pollutants are going to releases in the human activities. These pollutants are causing the major effects into the biodiversity here. That means the other species, they are not going to withstand into the nature because of these pollutants here. So these are all direct human activities. Those are reasons for the loss of biodiversity we are taking. And the indirect methods are also there. Indirect human activity is also there. That is a demographic distribution, economical importance, technological factors, and the cultural and the religious beliefs. How they are means demographic distribution. Demographic distribution means the distribution of the humans in a forest. Now the increasing the population to settle downs or to getting into the shelters, the forest areas are going to deforestating here. So because of this demographic distribution, geographical distribution, so other species, they are losing into their habitats. This is also indirect way. And economical important or the economical valuable species we are. Suppose any one of the plant or the animal, so it is economically valuable. So those species we are going to using into the extensively, we are going to over usage, we are going to conducting. So automatically those species are going to extinct from the nature here. At the technological issues like that as a radiations, these are all comes under the technological issues here. So because of the technology or the industrialization is also indirectly is causing the loss of biodiversity. Cultural and the religious beliefs. Cultural activities or the religious beliefs or native religious beliefs also, some of the species are going to extincted here. So these are all comes under the indirect. So like these, either the direct or the indirect human activities, biodiversity loss is occurring from 100 to the thousands of the species are going to extinct. These are all comes under the loss of biodiversity factors. Thank you.